right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA regular season video. We are going to interrupt your regularly scheduled, game recap to talk about some just shocking news that came through in the wee hours of the morning. The sun wasn't even up; it was 2 a.m. Um, the Clippers had just played the Miami Heat and got dog walked. They looked really bad that game, and then came out around 2 a.m. East Coast time. Chris Paul made an Instagram story, and on his official account, he said, "I just found out I'm being sent home." And then a report came out from senior NBA insider Chris Haynes, breaking Los Angeles Clippers are sending future Hall of Famer and point guard Chris Paul home in a bizarre severing of ties moves, league sources tell me. And then when I saw this morning, I was like, oh, this can't be real. And then we got some more stuff from Shams Charania of ESPN and some other sources. I want to break this down. I want to talk about what's going on with the Clippers, and you guys will get the regularly scheduled NBA recap of games tomorrow, because this is sort of out of the blue, needs to be talked about kind of day. So if you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the bias, consider subscribing. So if you don't know who Chris Paul is, the guy on your screen, um, he played for the Clippers before he had returned home to LA to be closer to his family, his biological family, so to speak, his kids, his wife, um, but also end his career where he sort of made his mark. You know, he was very good in New Orleans. He was very good in Oklahoma previously. Um, as a Hornet, yeah, as a Hornet. But he made his I guess how would you call it? His MVP cases, his highlight reel is mostly in a Clippers jersey. I put it that way. And he's a 12-time All-Star. He's a 5-time assist leader, 5-time steals leader, 11-time All NBA. He was Rookie of the Year in 2005, 2006. Um, He was All-Star Game MVP in 2012, 2013. He was on the All-Defensive Team 9 times, and he was on the NBA 75 anniversary team. But that is all in the past. He is 39 now. Um, About to be, well, he's 40. Yeah, May 6th. No, he's 40. Damn, yeah, Chris Paul is 40. Um, he was the fourth pick in 2005, and he hasn't been an All-Star caliber player for a little bit of a while now. He's sort of been bouncing around as a mentor, as a sort of backup ball handler, but he's a legend of the game. And his last couple of stops included Phoenix, Golden State, San Antonio, and this one, the Clippers, where he thought he would end his career. He announced his retirement just maybe 14 days ago, 12 days ago. He announced it, and the Los Angeles Clippers have just sent him home. And I was waiting to talk about this because I knew there were going to be some more things to come out. They were just have to be. And one of the first things that came out, per ESPN's Shams Charania, was Chris Paul and his leadership style clashed with the Clippers. Sources tell ESPN Paul has been vocal in holding management, coaches, and players accountable, which the team felt became disruptive. Specifically, Ty Lue was not on speaking terms with Paul for several weeks. Um, this news is I want to talk about the Clippers. We'll get to the Clippers. I want to talk about Chris Paul first. Chris Paul, for those who do not know, um, and those who aren't really familiar with Chris Paul, um, Chris Paul in one of his first in his first stop in LA was teammates with a guy called JJ Redick. JJ Redick is now the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Um, Before that, JJ Redick was a podcast host, and JJ Redick would often talk about times of him being on the Clippers. When he was on other people's podcasts, he would get asked about the Clippers. He would get asked about Chris Paul, and Chris Paul um, in JJ's words, is an a hole. He's an a hole, but he's an a hole because he's a competitive guy, and he's insanely competitive. He wants to win. He wants everybody else to be as competitive as him and be on the same page as him. And Chris Paul in his prime could do that. He could demand that out of people. Now that Chris has gotten a bit older, you've seen him soften a little bit. He still has that competitive edge, but he's softened a little bit. He could see he at 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 some point a couple of days ago he could see the light at the end of the tunnel. You're in December. Um, you're getting towards All Star. It's December, January, February. You got 3 months till All Star. Your last year of your career is almost over, or halfway over. Um, but Chris is a competitive guy, and in JJ's words, he demands the best out of you. And for the Clippers to not know this about Chris Paul, and Chris Paul being, um, oh, okay, Chris Paul and his Chris Paul, knowing Chris Paul, and knowing about Chris Paul, knowing what Chris Paul's about, and even him not being on the most competitive teams the last couple of years. I mean, Golden State wasn't competitive when he was there. San Antonio was a little competitive, but not being supposedly back in a more competitive environment in LA again with older players, you'd think he'd be able to hold those people accountable because Chris Paul is one of the most established players in that locker room. Granted, you have James Harden MVP, you have Kawhi Leonard, two-time MVP, two-time Finals MVP. But Chris Paul is a legend of the game, and he's been around the block, and he knows the ups and downs of the situation of every team. That he's been on, and he can bring that expertise. And for the Clippers to be like, actually, like, was it 2 months in the season? Actually, no, Chris, we don't want you here. You're too much. You're too much. That's literally what they said to him. You're too much. We don't need you. We don't need this. We don't need to be held accountable. We don't need all this stuff, right? We don't need your type of leadership. Because the problem with the Clippers, and now we're moving to the Clippers, is that throughout this, what has it been? Since 2019. So 6 years, 7 years, 7 seasons, the Clippers have lacked a leader. Kawhi Leonard isn't a leader. He leads by example, but he's not a leader. Paul George wasn't a leader. He's out of there. He's in Philly now. James Harden is not a leader. James Harden leads by example and really only he orchestrates on the floor, but he doesn't lead as a whole. He's not a great leader. I don't look at James Harden and recall him ever being a great leader. He's a great floor general. He's a great um, he's great with a lot of things on the floor. Off the floor, James Harden's a questionable leader. And I think going through the season and thinking, oh, hey, wait, we actually kind of need Chris Paul versus 2 months in saying, actually, no, we don't need Chris Paul, a guy who's been around for many years. He's been how many seasons would it have been? He's been around 21 years. He's been playing basketball almost as long as I've been alive. He's been a pro basketball player almost as long as I've been alive. And for a guy like that not to be able to hold management responsible, hold coaches responsible, and to hold teammates accountable, and specifically Ty Lue accountable, who Ty Lue, since being the Cavaliers coach, was that around for being Ty Lue not being the Cavaliers coach for 5 years now and having done nothing with the Clippers. Ty Lue needs to be held accountable, and a guy like Chris Paul would do that. And there have been conflicting reports of like Lawrence Frank, the Clippers GM, saying, "Oh, we're not scapegoating Chris Paul, this and that." You're scapegoating him, and I have some notes about the Clippers that I wrote down here, and I want to get to here. This whole era for the Clippers has been awful, um, and this being the quintessential Clippers moment of there's a guy who we don't like who's holding us accountable. Let's get rid of him. The one guy in the locker room who's going to hold you accountable. Bradley Beal is at home. He's injured. Kawhi Leonard very, very rarely plays games. And you're relying on James Harden and company to make you a okay team so the Oklahoma City Thunder doesn't get your pick this year is insane. Um, the Clippers have been set back so many years because of Kawhi, because that Paul George trade where they gave up a humongous load of assets in players, in draft picks, for Paul George to come to LA, now not in LA anymore after the tumultuous tenure with Kawhi and Paul George and those guys. Bring James Harden in recently, trying to recobble together some form of a real franchise, a real team with Chris Paul, with Bradley Beal, with Kawhi Leonard, with James Harden. It hasn't worked. It's been 2 months and it hasn't worked. It's been terrible. James Harden has turned back the clock some games. He's looked really good some games. But that's not what these Clippers teams are here for. You have to be good. You can't just be okay. You have to be good. You don't have your draft pick this year. The Oklahoma City Thunder have it. They are spiraling. The Clippers are spiraling. And the other thing about this is the Clippers have managed to ostracize every great player they've ever had. They did it with Blake Griffin, who was with Chris Paul in LA the first time around. Back in, when was that? So you guys can have a reference point here. From 2011 to 2016. That's when they were teammates. There and where it was about. And then you have guys like DeAndre Jordan, who really isn't a franchise guy. It was just liked by the team, and you've ostracized all the great players in Clippers history. If we go, I mean, we go look at the Clippers history right here. I know they have Bill Walton. God rest his soul. Um, he's passed, so he's not alive to be a an ambassador for the Clippers. Um, Los Angeles Clippers. Here we go. Yeah. So when you look up, when you look up the Clippers, you have Chris Paul, who you've ostracized. You have DeAndre Jordan, who's a liked player, but isn't really like somebody who could be like your what do you call it? Your like ambassador for the team. Elton Brand. I don't know if he wants to be associated with the Clippers. Blake Griffin, Bob McAdoo. Yeah, Bob McAdoo. Randy Smith, Corey Maggette, Kawhi Leonard, Danny Manning. Yeah, yeah. A lot of these guys, I don't even think of some of these guys as Clippers. They just happen to have played in a Clippers jersey at some point. Um, yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess right now. Um, I'm just so baffled that I'm so baffled that that this is the thing that has come out is that Chris Paul was doing his job as somebody who's been around the league a long time, is a veteran, is established. Chris Paul isn't a nobody. Chris Paul is a very good player, and you take that guy and you say, hey, you know what? We know you're on your retirement tour. We know you're retiring at the end of the year. Let's retire you early. Let's send you home. Go home. They looked that man in his face and said, go home. The Clippers have just started a one, two, three, four game road trip. They played the first one in Miami, the fifth game of the road trip. They just started their road trip, and they said, Chris, you know what? You came down to Miami with the team. We're flying to Memphis. Actually, you know what, Chris? We booked your flight home. Go home to LA. That's nuts. You couldn't fire him when you were at home. You couldn't send him home when you were at home. You sent him at home. You boarded a flight from Miami to go to Atlanta because they play Atlanta tonight, and they said, actually, Chris, we booked you another flight. You got a layover in Atlanta. You're going back to LA. Stay home. Oh my god, dude, that's so bad. That is so bad. And like I've defended the Clippers personally, like a couple times, especially at the beginning of this year. Like, oh, the Clippers could be kind of good if they start out hot. It's gone every which way, but the way they want to go. And my last note here, if I was Chris Paul, I would say, you know what, Clippers, I don't want my jersey retired. Don't retire my jersey. Don't call me. Don't ask me to do anything for you. It's over. It's done. Chris Paul did them a service by coming back to the Clippers. He could have gone any other place. He could have just retired, but he was like, you know what? I'm gonna play one more year. I'm gonna go back to when my career really started getting going. I started getting national recognition for my play, for the exciting team that I was leading. I'm gonna go back to that team and play for them one more year and retire possibly. And they confirmed his retirement a couple weeks ago. And then they just stuck up the middle finger to him and said, "Go home, go." If I was Chris Paul, I would not want my jersey retired there anymore. I just can't. I can't fathom walking into that building and shaking somebody's hand that told me to go home early on my retirement tour. I'm gone anyway. I'm leaving. You don't owe me anything. I don't owe you anything. But you at least owe me the courtesy to say, hey, you know what? Maybe if you want to send him home at All Star break. Don't send him home in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. in the morning. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. The other thing that's popped up is Chris Paul gonna play basketball again? Like, is this it? Is this truly it? The Lakers have been floated around. They have one extra roster spot, but they can't send anybody till think like January 18th, 14th, something like that. So he'd have to wait. Um, I've seen the Oklahoma City Thunder floated around. He had a couple stops in Oklahoma. Funny enough, if you look at Chris Paul's basketball reference, um, he played in Oklahoma as a Hornet um, in 2005, 2006, and 2006, 2007 because they had the hurricane in New Orleans, so they played in Oklahoma for those 2 years. So Chris Paul has some ties there. He also played in Oklahoma in 2019, 2020. Return as a Thunder, though, not as a Hornet. And I'm going to be honest, I think that would be so poetic for Chris Paul to go back and retire as an Oklahoma City guy because he did so much for that community. He did so much for that team, the Thunder. He really mentored Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's now an MVP, a champion, Finals MVP. Um, I think that'd be beautiful for him to go back to Oklahoma. I truly do. Um, I don't think this should be it. I'm not the biggest Chris Paul fan. I have no feelings about Chris Paul. I feel the same way about Chris Paul as I feel about Russell Westbrook. Legends like those guys don't deserve to be thrown out the back door. They just don't. Let them go out on their own terms. You can't dictate a lot in your professional career. One of the things you could try to dictate is how you go out and how you are remembered. And for this to be, if this is Chris Paul's last memory of him in a Clipper jersey looking washed, and they're sending him out the back door in the middle of the night, that's terrible. And my last thought here about this is, um, I I don't root for the Clippers. I have no feelings towards the Clippers. But the Clippers have definitely moved down my list as teams of that I would actively watch and teams that I want to root for because they're just a mess and I have no feelings towards them and that's that. Um, some other breaking news here. In the middle of my Chris Paul video, um, we got some more news from Shams Charania about Giannis Antetokounmpo, Milwaukee Bucks star, legend, star and legend, living legend, playing legend right now. Giannis Antetokounmpo and his agent Alex Saratis have started conversations with the Milwaukee Bucks about the two-time NBA MVP's future and discuss whether his best fit is staying or elsewhere. Sources tell ESPN a resolution is expected to be coming in the following weeks. So sort of low key. Um, Giannis might demand a trade on this. What is this? Wednesday, 3rd of December. uh, in the next couple weeks, it was reported by earlier today. Actually, that it was reported earlier today by ESPN's Brian Windhorst that Giannis covertly requested a trade in the offseason, this past offseason. It was kept very hush hush. But he reportedly requested a trade already, and then that was sort of like just an in-house, like they were trying to talk him out of it, and obviously they talked him out of it, and they made the Miles Turner move, and things looked like they were going to be resolved, and the season has gone bad for the Bucks, and we'll see what happens with that. So I just wanted to tag that in here at the end of the Chris Paul video, and you guys will get your regularly scheduled game recap of Monday night's games and Tuesday night's games tomorrow. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Let me know where you think Chris Paul should go. Should he go to the Lakers? Should he go to Oklahoma? Should he just retire? Um, yeah, this just made me upset. Like I don't get upset a lot about NBA moves, but whenever I see somebody like Chris Paul, who I know is somebody's favorite player, get treated like this, I try to think of my favorite player and how I would feel when if they got treated like this. And I feel so bad for Chris. I don't feel bad for the Clippers. The Clippers are just a mess. And yeah, so like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys next time. Um, check out my NBA playlist in the top right corner, and you guys will probably get a video this weekend as well. So yeah, that's it. That's me done rambling. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.